The 1920s was a time of festivity, entertainment, consumerism, and indifference towards the status quo. Women succeeded in their feminist goals to acquire their voting rights. With the ratification of the 19th Amendment, they also began breaking the traditional role of the Victorian lady and drifting into the more rebellious and sensual flapper, who wanted an equal status as men, thus smoked, drank in public, and talked openly about sex, things that would have ruined her reputation not many years before. When the stock market crashed unexpectedly in 1929, people were outraged. Panic investors tried to sell their stocks as swift as possible. The market fell to its lowest in what is called Black Tuesday, and the nation's confidence in the economy also collapsed. This was only the beginning of the Great Depression, which took hold of the nation for an entire decade. In this period, unemployment was prevalent and money and resources were scarce. Americans worked vehemently hard to sustain their families. In the beginning of the Depression, there was no direct relief or cash payments provided by the government to the poor. Therefore, many people struggled to survive. Women were targets of prejudice and resentment from men. Many people thought it was wrong that women, especially married women, worked when there were men who were unemployed. They would usually stay at home and help rear their kids, while their husbands tried to encounter a job and bring food to the table. Evidence of society's view on women is strongly depicted in the advertisement of the time. On this ad, one can observe a woman dressed as a housewife, wearing an apron and holding a dust cleaner, while the male figure is wearing a work suit. This publicity depicts society's stereotypical belief that women's role in a family is to stay at home, cleaning and taking care of the kids, while men are the ones who should work and sustain the family economically, consequently making women dependent on their husbands. The ad also reveals the stereotypical view of society with the man's dialogue. The harder a wife works, the cuter she looks. Kellogg's uses a sexual appeal technique to introduce the idea that with these vitamins, women can cook, clean, and work around the house and still look perfect for their husbands after a long day of work. In today's culture, most people would not receive that idea warmly. Prior advertisement relates to the book To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee because it exhibits one of the most important themes of the novel, prejudice. When a scout goes around makeup, wearing her overalls and being the complete opposite of what is expected of a young lady to be, in other words, a tomboy, she utterly defies societal dogmas against women and girls. By doing this, she exposes herself to intolerance, prejudgment, and rejection. One of the characters that most clearly expresses this prejudgment is Aunt Alexandra, who in a scout word says, Aunt Alexandra was fanatical on the subject of my attire. I could not possibly hope to be a lady if I wore breeches. When I said I could do nothing in a dress, she said I wasn't supposed to be doing things that required pants. On this advertisement, the female figure is also dressed as a housewife and the male figure as a member that sustains the family. The publicity, aside from portraying people's fixed view of women by displaying that she is the one who cooks dinner and buys the food, it also exhibits the 1930s great impact on people's budget through word choice such as I can't afford and food for $4 on $8 a week, that is my problem. This advertisement is relevant to the context of the novel because it displays people's scarce resources at that time. In the novel, Scout narrates the stories of many white people who were suffering the Great Depression. Early in the story, she talks about Walter Cunningham Jr., who doesn't have any money for buying lunch. She also talks about the Owls, who only go to school the first day of each academic year and whose parents live in a landfill. Ultimately, she describes the First Purchase, an African American church that does not have any hymn books because only 4 members among the entire congregation are literate, and Anyway, nobody could afford them. The Great Depression was the worst economic crisis that ever hit the United States. However, the following decade was going to mark the end of this period with the beginning of World War II, which provided jobs for the 17 million unemployed Americans in 1939. Although America would leap from crisis into economic prosperity, World War II was the costliest time period for humanity in terms of lives, freedom, and money.